Hey Bailey, how's it going? I hope you are having a good time at the expo or had a good time at the expo whenever you get to see this. I'm looking at this thing and it's coming along great. Now I'm going to get into more like specificity about how we're getting from pose to pose and stuff. Hopefully the demo in class was helpful. Um, but yeah, so this beginning part, I'm going to start just breaking it down chunk by chunk, kind of like beat by beat, and we'll talk about how I find each beat is playing.
Yeah, what's your deal? I haven't seen you before.
Oh, yeah.
So I like this. I like this first beat. This is what I'm going to call the first beat here.
I haven't seen you before.
Oh.
So it's nice, and what I like about it is kind of like the slow lean back that she has, but this really quick hand turn and raise. I feel like that kind of contrast in tempo and pacing will make your animation very appealing and interesting to watch. So that's something to keep in mind as you make your way through the rest of this. Those little like contrasty things, that's some next level stuff you can do to really help the appeal in your animation. So let me look specifically at this part before she starts saying her thing.
Yeah, what's your deal? I haven't seen you before. Yeah.
All right, so one of the things I'd like to see is this like look over when she's saying, yeah, what's your deal? I feel like that part needs to be quicker, especially with eye stuff. Eyes move really, really quickly. You know what I mean? So this eye movement starting kind of around frame 15 and going over here at 26, I would make that only take, you know, like 4 to 6 frames at most, and make sure those eye movements aren't even. So like if this is the first pose that you have in her eye, right? The second one, you can do it a couple ways, and it's not always the same in all situations. The first one could be like a tiny ease in to the eye motion. You know what I mean? Just start the eye moving over a little bit. And I find that like this tends to be most appropriate for when they're kind of being distracted from something that they want to pay attention to, which I think would be appropriate in this case. And then the last one is just like your final position, right? So this is like 2 frames, 4 frames, 6 frames, right? That's kind of like how quick it should be. So let's see. There is also something where it's nice to see. Like here, she's turning her head and stuff really slowly. So I would have her, this is my advice, like keep her in this head position, right? And keep her attention here. And just like live in this pose until the line, what's your deal, is done. So I'm saying like kind of hold that initial pose. And I'm not saying like don't keep alive. We can do some keep alive in this, of course. But maybe this is like where we're starting that eye movement from her hand over to the guy, right? Like she hasn't really reacted too much to what she's saying. And then we do a quicker head turn over here. I think that this is probably good timing for that, but the head turn, let's make that quicker. And that's supposed to be a check, like a yes to timing on this. But one thing about this head turn is that it goes down and then tilts the crown over. So that's kind of like almost like a 2-stage head turn. And I think this should be more like one move. You know what I'm saying? So here we go. So I think this, you know, and I'm not saying like it should be a linear in between or anything. Like we don't want it to be like the robot straight line. which you're not doing. But I'm suggesting that maybe, you know, she goes down and head tilts the crown over like simultaneously. Not necessarily evenly timed on both, but this feels almost like two separate moves, like down and then over. So we got to hold a little bit on whatever this pose is. Like she looks over. We need like a little beat of a hold, because now we're looking. You have that beat of a hold in
I
there,
haven't seen you before.
which is nice. But maybe with some of the new stuff I'm suggesting, and don't stick to what I'm suggesting like frame by frame perfectly. That I can't, like I said, I can't just imagine like a perfect animated piece and tell you where everything goes. Like for me, I do poses and watch it and react to it, and move poses and watch it and react to it. So I would have to kind of do that to like know exactly what to do. But this little beat of her looking over is great. So maybe even yes to the timing here too, of getting her into this pose, right? And having her live in that pose for like 10 frames before her attention returns back to her hand, which I like. And I like this, how she like leans up and looks at her hand in that quick hand flick, like I said. But what we need to do is live in this pose for a little bit before we bail out of it. You know what I mean? This is nice, and it communicates a lot to our audience. And if she just does it and bails out of it, it feels like we're not. It's like we kind of lose that as a nice thing.
Yeah, what's your deal?
So maybe in order to get a little more time
I
there,
haven't seen you before.
we could have her lean back be even faster. Like you could probably shave some frames off of this lean back, and I don't want it as fast as the hand reposition, that hand flip, because like I said, it's nice to have contrast and timing. But that would give you more frames to have her kind of sit here in this pose if she got up a little bit quicker. Some of the nice things you can do while having her get up is you can sort of imply, like leave this hand and wrist like where it was. Like this is a place that she's using leverage to like help push her torso back up a little bit. You know, so think about where the forces are coming from, how people move in efficient ways, and by efficient I mean kind of like as low effort as possible. So like break up, once you feel like you have the timing of this uplift like you want it, maybe try to think about the physics of it. And I don't know if you have this in any of your reference of leaning up, but she could be pushing kind of a little bit, not only just with her torso, but also like this hand is an anchor, so she's pushing against her legs and her knee to help her get her torso up. And we don't need to make a huge meal out of it, you know what I mean? Like we don't have to make it look like she's half dead and raise up this shoulder first before the torso rotates up. We don't need to go that extreme, but it may be nice just to like delay the repositioning of that hand in order to kind of like communicate that a little bit, and so things don't always move it, start and stop moving at the same time. You know what I mean? All right, let's move on to the next little bit, which is going to be here. I think this is a next nice little bit of phrasing.
Oh yeah, I just transferred.
Let me turn off ghosting. All right.
Oh yeah, I just transferred.
Yeah, cool.
Oh yeah, I just transferred.
All right. So what I want to see here is like the head movement here goes sideways and then up and then it turns. It's like a little complex. What's going on right now with the head? I like this is like an oh yeah kind of thing. So maybe we live in this pose a little bit longer before we start to like transition over. But like we're dragging the crown of the head maybe on this turn, and then like flopping the crown of the head over and then going into the shrug. So I kind of feel like what we have to do is get to this pose pre-shrug, like before the shrug happens, so that the shrug is a more isolated movement, right? Because right now it's kind of getting lost a little bit because it's getting gobbled up by this other move. And I'm not saying like we have to do it long, but we need to hold this or live in this pose at least for a little bit, and that's going to make the shrug really clear, right? So shrug up and shrug down. But it looks like we're starting this forward movement during the shrug. So I wouldn't do that. I would just have the shrug be its own kind of isolated thing. So like we go up, but we're going up kind of in this same orientation that we had previously, right? Where we're not really starting to move the torso over that way. It's okay to get, you know, like we want to support the shrug with a little up and down and stuff. And definitely the shoulders should be the hero of the shrug, so we want the shoulders to move the most out of anything. It's okay, I think, to have like a little head angle tilt, but what we're doing is like we're tilting it and turning it at the same time. So maybe what I would do is just tilt it. You know what I mean? Have her kind of keep a more similar thing, so we're kind of like isolating movement to the gesture, right? And then when she settles back down after the shrug, we're still kind of living in this same area, the same kind of like torso positioning that we had before, and the head is like going kind of back to what we had here. Like this and this should feel at least like variations of the same thing, but I feel like we're starting this, like I said, we're starting this lean over where we're going to put her hand out a little soon. So like these should be kind of like given, these poses are good poses. They're great poses that you observed. So let's give our audience time to enjoy them a little bit before we like move out of them, right? So let me see if there's anything else I want to say about this beat right here.
Oh, yeah, I just transferred.
Right. Because we have this, I think, maybe I made that up, that we're doing this hand gesture. Maybe we just want to put the hand down. I don't know if I made up that we're going to do like this flip here. Like a dismissive kind of like, oh yeah, it's no big deal kind of hand wave. I know you can't see me right now, but I think I talked about it a little bit in class. Maybe I misread what this is. And if it is, if I did, or you've changed your mind subsequently, that is fine. You know, I'm not saying this is like 100% necessarily needed or necessary or anything. But if you are going to do that, if that is something you want to do, I like the idea of after the shrug. Oh no, this is before the shrug. So that hand gesture should be kind of more isolated and not layered on top of the turn. So I think like here, like, you know, this change that we're seeing here, I think we need to clean up some of these poses, right? Because like she's raising up her center of gravity here and here and stuff, and I'm not really sure why there's a movement in her center of gravity at this point. If there's just, maybe it's because you're starting that lean over and stuff, but I would delay, you know, this part is the part that's going to take her the most effort to kind of like reposition and everything, because that's kind of like all of her weight is on this contact point between her backside and the couch. So that has to be movement that's small, that takes a little bit longer, it has more effort to it. Like here it just kind of raises up. So I think you can just kind of flatten out a bunch of those keys and make it like the same pose and like try to do most of the posing in the torso. So if she is doing that hand wave, we kind of need it to go from looking at the nails to having an anticipatory frame, you know, even maybe bigger than what I drew it here on the arm, right? If that's something you're going for. And then And then once we get it swooped, once we get into this low position, it's got to live in this position for a beat, right? Before it goes to rest on the leg. So again, maybe I'm spending all this time talking about something that you're not trying to do. So I'll try not to spend any more time about it. But we need it to be like anticipation of the gesture kind of more or less in isolation, without like this is a big move maybe, and then have a beat of resolution on that gesture before we drop the hand down to rest on the leg, and then we can get into the shrug. So all these things need to kind of be, I don't mean that like we can only move one part of the body at a time. Like I was demoing in class, we do need to keep alive on the torso at all times and other areas, but we need to like clarify what it is we're trying to show the audience, like which gestures are important. Lock down some areas, like maybe the pelvis. Get a little bit of supporting movement on the torso, but really have the gestures in there that we're trying to highlight. Make sure that that's the thing everybody's looking at by settling down movement elsewhere.
Oh, yeah, I just transferred.
So that shrug could be real nice. I feel like this area could use some cleanup and some attention, I think, for sure. So I'm going to go to here, which is a huge, large section.
Yeah, I just transferred. I honestly
So I really like leaning over and getting that down, and what you're doing with the shoulder here to show it absorb the weight. But I would like you to live in this pose just a little bit longer. This pose is excellent. How you're getting into this pose is excellent. Great job. Whoops, not a B, but an R. Great. That's great. It really is some nice stuff. That lean forward and how I see the shoulder absorb that weight. Let's stay in that a little bit longer, like a beat.
Just transferred. I honestly
Because I like this for honestly, but I feel like her hand's coming up. Let's see. It's coming up on 205, is that correct? No, 204. And the hand gets there at 226. So 204 to 226 is like 22 frames. That you're going to have too many frames between when she starts lifting the hand here and here. So that, I think that you can move this one, you know, probably. So I'm going to say move. And you're going to have to play around with this, because again, it's hard for me to imagine the perfect animation. But maybe to like 214, it sort of depends how long you want it to take for her to put her hand up to her mouth. But that'll buy you 10 extra frames, so you can like live in this pose a little bit longer. You know what I mean? And even get another breakdown of this happening. Like we need like one more, maybe, of it just pushing just ever slightly farther. That's an option to go to like build an ease in, which I think it's good to like start easing into some of this stuff. Maybe she's leaning over just a touch more. Or this pose can be this exact same pose here, but then this pose you would just back off of it with an in-betweener by like 5 to 10%. So you have like an ease in to this pose ultimately. That's maybe complicated and poorly illustrated by me in this explanation, so if you don't understand that, I can clarify it. But basically it's like how to build an in-between for that, you know, because it's like she's supporting her weight on her shoulder. It's good to have an in-between, you know, to kind of show that it takes a little effort to like slow down her torso mass and all that stuff. All right, let's talk about this.
yeah, I just transferred. I honestly yeah, I just transferred.
I think that's all working great. So there's not a lot of notes throughout this section because I feel like this section is largely working. I think I hope you feel the same when you watch through it. So let's jump on to the next section. See where I want to
I
cut
guess you could
this?
say I'm kind of like a wayward.
Cool.
I guess you could say I'm kind of like a wayward soul who's finding myself.
Okay, cool. I'll cut it here. This is going to be the next section that we talk about.
I guess you could say I'm kind of like.
So I like this gesture a lot. This, I guess you could say. I feel like it's coming early though with the dialogue. I feel like this would be nice to delay a little bit. Like maybe this hand out pose doesn't happen until she says say. So I'm not saying delay it a lot. Like let's say 298. Right now it's 286. So 298 minus 86 is, no, 12 frames, not 32 frames. My goodness. My goodness. Sunday math. So yeah, maybe I would delay the start of this gesture from here to here by like 12 frames, right? And that's going to have to delay this other stuff too.
I'm kind of like a wayward soul.
Which I think is good because we're going from this gesture and we're bringing the hand down and then going into this gesture. And I feel like it's taking a long time to get from here to here. So I think I like, let me make sure.
Kind of like a wayward soul.
I like this hand coming up on Wayward Soul here. Like this is nice on Wayward Soul. So I support the timing of this here. I think that's good. But I think maybe we can make this transition like a little simpler and a little quicker. You know what I mean? I know in your reference, like you're kind of pulling back across this whole phrase.
I guess you could say I'm kind of like a wayward soul.
But you also, once you hit your back thing, like you're kind of living in this torso position, right? And we don't get to live in that position in your animated piece because we're going into this wayward soul stuff. So I feel like that's creating.
I guess you could say I'm kind of
like this. I would say go all the way into this. It feels like we're easing out into this, is what it feels like based on the distance between these two poses. But if your intention are to go all the way to this, that's fine. But let's have this come much earlier, and then we're gonna have to play with the spacing of those other two poses, right? So that this becomes like one fluid movement, which is fine. I'm totally into this being one fluid movement. I kind of like the hand breaking silhouette up here and here better than I like the hand breaking silhouette down here. So like if you look in your reference, you're kind of keeping your hand up higher. So if you want to keep this lean on the torso, I think that's a fine thing to do too. I would just leave the hand up higher and then work on your spacing so that it's like one fluid movement from, well, not form. Oh my gosh, thank goodness for undo. From here to here, if that's what you're doing. And I don't. The only reason I'm saying if that's what you're doing, because honestly, I don't really have a strong opinion about if this is your final pose or this is your final pose. Like this isn't bad either. You know what I mean? Like I do like that the head's tilting away, but here I like that it's sort of like different. How guarded do you want her to be? You know what I mean? It's fine to drag the crown here if that's an in-between. But if this is your extreme, then I don't think you need to go this far back to go back up, because it winds up being, so this is the alternate set of notes. If it isn't, pay attention to the purple. If this isn't your extreme that you want to hit on that. then I would stick more like from here, if we're going from here, right, up into, I wouldn't go this far back and then have to go up. I would cut out that. That's, I mean, you can do it a little bit, right? Like maybe if we're going to like here to like get weight off of this arm here to free up that arm, which you would have to do, but I don't know that we'd need to go so far. So let's say we go less far and then we go into this, which is fine, but we are going from like a torso attitude of this to this. It's weird that like the torso is, it's like rocking right and then rocking back up in that in between. And maybe this is something you're observing in a reference pass or something somewhere, but I think that move just needs to be a little bit simplified from here,
so you
right?
could say I'm kind of like a wayward soul. I guess you could.
All right, but overall, it's, I feel like that section is pretty close. I'm just gonna tack on the last section here.
Wayward soul who's finding myself.
So here you have that hand wave dismissive gesture. So maybe we just leave it for here and don't do it here. Because otherwise we're kind of doing the same thing twice. But this isn't really, when I watch your reference, this isn't a super hand wavy gesture. It's just a like a stylized way of putting the hand down. So I don't know. Maybe we leave this as is and make sure it doesn't read as a hand gesture, as a wave. And I think it's kind of reading as that, a little bit more of like a wave based on how far. I mean, so this is what I think is happening. And your reference here, your hand is kind of in the same attitude away from the body as the hand is here. But the reason it's reading as a wave, I think, is because here, your palm up, and look at the relationship between your hand and the body here, but the relationship between the hand and the body here is far greater, like pushed out. So when you go from this pose to this pose, it looks like you're drawing an arc, like down, which is what gives it that hand wavy gesture. Where in your reference, it looks like you're just turning the palm down, right? So it's okay just to turn the palm down, but maybe you want to reposition this hand kind of more in the realm of where it was. I don't want to draw over my previous marks because it's going to get real confusing. Oh, it's already real confusing. There's no getting around the confusingness of it, despite my best intentions, but hopefully YouTube will guide you through. So yeah, let's turn the palm, but maybe not bring the hand in so much, or let's make this the wavy gesture, the kind of waving away gesture, and then not do it here, which I don't even know if you want to do it here, so what the heck. Anyways.
A wayward soul who's finding myself.
I really like this lean in here that you have at the end. I think that's great. Maybe we could push it a little bit more, but that's just a maybe, so ignore it if you don't like. Or save this to last, but maybe as she's delivering this last little line, you know, we're closing the distance between her and the interviewer, I guess, is a way to speak about that character. It's not entirely like an official interview, but maybe it also shows that she's like kind of getting closer to him and feeling a little bit more vulnerable, or maybe she's like a little more into him because he actually listened and didn't interrupt her to say what, and she's kind of like looking up under her brows at him, which is kind of like a shy sort of like what do I want to say, not subservient, but you know, it's friendly, it's kind of what she's doing. I don't know, words are so hard. Anyways, I don't have a ton of other stuff, and this has gone on for a half hour, so that's plenty of stuff. But again, I feel like let's clean up some of these poses and stuff, and I can give you more like hands-on help if ever you feel lost at this stage. Whoops, pardon me. I can give you more hands-on help if ever you feel lost at this stage. We'll just do it in office hours, or maybe in class demo or something. I'm not sure how to find the time, but yeah, I feel like you're really close to completing this blocking pass, and then we can get more in-betweens in here, and then go to spline and stuff on all this stuff, because that should be our next milestone, is getting all these poses like resolved and flowing in step mode, so we can get to spline. Start getting the eye mask stuff in there as well, which I think would be okay in this step mode to start working out as we do in breakdowns and stuff, and then we'll work out the mouth last. But yeah, great stuff. Look forward to seeing your progress. See you in class.